Hello, everyone. Hopefully you can all hear me okay. Uh, still working on this whole streaming with OBS thing. I was using Ecamm before, and it's a little bit of a learning curve. Hopefully you can all hear me okay. Let me just go ahead and start my other one. I need to get one of those graphics that says like starting soon so that I can put that up when I'm just failing terribly. So normally my live streams are at 10:30 a.m., but I scheduled a doctor's appointment a year ago before I started doing regular live streams, and I forgot about it until they called to remind me yesterday. So that's what we were dealing with. So I had to rush back here to get this one ready because I didn't want to miss a live stream. Didn't want to let you all down. Oh, hey, check out this sweet zit I got on my lip. Did you know you still get zits in your 40s? Because that's the thing that happens. Just give me 1 second. So I can see if this is happening. I'm gonna switch to my iPad in a minute. I'm just trying to get my chat up into the scene here. I think I had the wrong one up. I am sorry, everyone. Manage this one. Where's my chat stream? Is this the right one? What are we doing here? I am a hot mess. What would you expect from me? Nope, that's the wrong one. Hi, everyone. I'm still here. One of these days. Whoa, there it is. Hallelujah. Pop out my chat. Can't deal with my chat here. All right, we got that one popped out. Just give me 1 more second. I promise I will be okay in a minute. Boy, howdy, they do not make this easy. Let's oh my gosh. Did I close my son of a I love you, everyone. Please be patient with my heart. I don't know how people manage this business. Okay. Is this even the right one? I got 2 different streams going on because YouTube is like, hey, we want you to do the verticals, we want you to do the horizontals, and I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to do it. And whoo. It's not easy. And now this window is so tiny. Like, how am I? Oh, there we go. We're getting a pop up. I'm making it bigger. Okay. All right. Hey, everyone. Thank you for being patient. I'm going to switch over to my iPad screen. I just want to let people know who are catching this in the vertical stream that I'm having a little bit of a hard time and I can't get those chats open. So I have to just view one of them at the moment. And I think that one is going to be that one is the horizontal. So if you want me to see your chats, you're going to have to come over to my horizontal stream, unfortunately. Next week, I'm going to do some practices. Everything's going to be good. And, I'll be a better streamer. Let's switch over to my iPad screen. On a better note, I do have a pretty cool iPad screen now. I made it a little bit nicer that was a fun thing, but I probably should have spent my time figuring out logistics instead of doing that. All right, so let me just quickly say hi to some people in the chat. Andra, how's it going? Kohiko, Alfonso, so nice to see so many familiar faces. Misha, Grana, how's it going? Jazzy J, how you doing? Omizu, Chris Zappa, we got some channel members. This is great. Okay, so we are in the draw zone. I am going to be demonstrating how to use the RetroSupplyCo Riso brushes and how I use them to layer color. They're really fun to work with, but they can be confusing at first. I have a link to these brushes for either Fresco and Photoshop, which use the same brushes. If you don't know and you use Fresco, Fresco uses Photoshop brushes. So anything that's for Photoshop works in Fresco. It's the same thing. Fresco files are actually Photoshop files. And there's also Procreate ones in there too. So if you use Fresco, Procreate, or Photoshop, this process is all going to be exactly the same. Might look slightly different, but we're just using layers and setting them to multiply to show through. What I'm going to be tightening up and coloring here is another one of my Ninja Turtle series. Kohiko said you didn't have to draw my portrait, which is pretty funny. This is Lord Dreg, was one of the villains from Ninja Turtles, first appeared in 1987. I've been doing a whole series of Ninja Turtles that are sort of drawn and inspired by like classic Japanese style tattoos, because this is sort of a little bit of a stretch. Anyway, my kid was really into the Ninja Turtles, and we were watching the live action ones from the 90s. There's one where they're in ancient Japan. One of the people refers to the turtles as kappas, which is like a demon, and it's also very common traditional Japanese tattoo subject. And let me center myself in the frame here. I thought, oh, hey, that would be cool to get a Ninja Turtle in the style of a kappa as a tattoo. And then I went crazy and I drew just a ton of Ninja Turtles in that style. And I'm actually currently making them into a pattern that's going to be licensed by this clothing brand with permission from Paramount. So look out for that soon. But today we're going to be doing the same process that I did for all of them. For Lord Drag, I have my sketch here. I'm going to do some tightened up line work, and then we're going to color it. These are the colors that I've used for all of the whole series. It's just 3 colors. I actually have 2 shades of pink just because I did that on one of them where I wanted a little bit more control, but you could do that with just the Riso tones, which I'll show you. But they're all mainly just 3 color. I didn't use anything more than this. Most of them are just like 3 color, which this sort of is. Just the pink is 50%, because one of the ones with skin tones needed a little bit more variety, so I just made a 50% version. The first thing that I'm going to do is just do tightened up line work of this. So I didn't want to go through the whole process from start to finish, so I got my sketch into a good place. I'm just going to blow it up a little bit, get it centered. And this is my process for everything. I get a tightened up sketch. This one is a little bit tighter than normal because I was noodling a bunch. I was having a hard time trying to kind of get my exact, I wanted it to feel like it was my own style, and I was struggling a little bit. Let me show you some reference. So I have a bunch of different sources because these looked a little bit different in different iterations. This was more of like the original one, and this one had this like brain helmet thing, which I liked, so I wanted to incorporate that. I tend to sort of mix versions of the characters into one sort of thing, and then this one, has these things, insect-like things coming off of his face. And that's like the action figure. I like to use the action figures for some of these because some of the ones from the early shows are just so low quality. The action figures, you can usually find a better image of them and you can sort of see the details. Also helpful for color reference because it's not like a screenshot from an old 80s TV show. So I took elements of each of them, stuff that I liked the best. Like this, the one on the left, you know, only has 2 eyes, but I liked the 3 eyes situation on this one. So I brought the 3 eyes in and then used some of those tentacles, but then used the brain from the original. So those are my references. Okay, cool. Looks like people on the West Coast are enjoying today's start time. Yeah, you know, maybe I'll see how the stats are for this stream, and if it's like a big boost, maybe I'll consider changing it. Earlier in the day tends to be a little bit easier for me, but you know, we can make things work. Daily Glish, how's it going? Stay in Delusion, nice to see you. Diana Lisa, you said you liked the background. Thank you so much. I'm trying to put the chats into the screen below my picture, but I didn't have time to figure that out. I wonder if I could just actually, while you guys are being patient with me already, I want to see if the thing that I installed actually works. Oh, wait, I think it might work. It just looks kind of bad. Let me see if I can fix that real quick. Why is it? Okay. Well, this looks terrible, but it's... But I think it's worth it, because then you can have your chat on there. Oh, but that's old. It's not up to date. Is that going to fix itself? Okay. Thanks, everyone. I don't know if this chat thing is going to work here, but I'm going to leave it there for a minute, and we'll see if it starts to do something. Okay, so let's start drawing. What? Daily English? What are we doing here? I don't know. You're asking. I don't know why you're asking me for a phone. Yeah, I don't know. The chat thing might be broken, but we'll see. Maybe it'll update. If it does, cool. If not, I'm going to turn it off and troubleshoot it at a later point. Okay, so to start inking this, I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to select black, even though I don't use black in any of these drawings. I layer my color, which is what we're going to do today. But I use black to just do the line work, and then I reference that afterwards. So I do my line work with my favorite inking brush for pixel-based art like this is what we're doing. So I'm going to get the classic inker from the liner set. You can find a link below. And Daily Glish, I cannot get you a phone, so please chill in the comments. I might need to get a moderator to kick you out of here, but I don't know why you were asking me for a phone. That's crazy. And because I'm doing the line work and the sketch is all good, I'm putting the smoothing all the way up. And for all of these, I've been doing my brush size at 50. Yeah, any of my regular people, if you are interested in becoming a moderator for me, shoot me an email or something, because I think that is something that definitely needs to happen. Okay, so I'm going to try to do this as quickly as possible because, you know, this is all about the Riso brushes, but I wanted to show you just the whole process aside from the sketch. So because I use this, brush size and I want the lines to be pretty thick, but I also want a little bit of that taper. All I'm doing is just like pressing lighter at the beginning and then pushing down. There has been an update in my Apple Pencil tip setup that I'm currently in love with, and you may notice it is very quiet. So I mentioned before that I had been using I tried out the Pen Tips version 2, But then when I put on a fresh screen protector, it felt bad, like it was too soft. But after using it for about a week, it kind of wore down that initial roughness of the screen protector. And I tried this one again, and man, this Pen Tips 2 is so nice. It's just soft and smooth, and it's not like rubbery soft. It's just, and because it's soft, it doesn't wear down nearly as fast. Like the ones that are the normal hard ones, because they're so hard, you know, it's almost like you're sanding them down with the screen protector. But because this one's soft, it just feels like a nice pen. So I have to say, it's pretty great. I'm also like selling it hard, and I didn't even set up my affiliate links for it. So this is all just me telling you, and I'm not getting anything out of it because I did sign up to be an affiliate with them, but then I didn't set them up because I wasn't really loving them, and I don't want to push any or like talk about products to you guys that I don't love. But man, this is great. I will say that I don't think the screen protector is anything special. It's just like any of the other magnetic ones. I'm not a huge, I would rather just have one that's not magnetic because I don't take them off. But I would say out of all the magnetic ones I've used, this one's probably the best. But I think they're quite a bit more expensive, especially because they're not based in the US, so you have to deal with shipping. I don't know if you can get them on Amazon. So there's that. But the Pen Tips 2 are great. And if you're someone who can touch the glass of an iPad screen, you probably could use this with great results without having any screen protector on because of how nice it feels. My partner in crime, Shana, has an iPad Air, and she draws on, also an Illustrator. She is using one of them with hers without the screen protector, and it's great. I just hate touching the glass screen because it's disgusting. Okay. Hi. I'm trying to think of things to talk about while I'm doing this. Ralph, thank you so much. Funny comments about the... So is the chat in the stream static, or is it just showing up static for me? Because if it is, I'm going to turn it off. Let me know in the comments. I shouldn't have tried to experiment with something for the first time. I'm right here. So, Tuesday's video is a little bit of a different one for me. I did a video breaking down all of like, you know, how I make a living as an illustrator and now a content creator and like the different income streams. So I thought it would be interesting, and people have asked about it before. And because the end of the year just happened and I had a lot of that stuff, you know, in my head, I decided to record that. So that's coming out on Tuesday. So if you're interested in how I do things and how I make a living, that's going to happen. This is the first year that YouTube has played any sort of significant role. It's still, you know, illustration is still my bread and butter, but YouTube definitely is starting to become more of a thing, which is kind of cool. Definitely wasn't expecting that to happen so quickly. The channel is only like a year and a half old, if that, to think. I think I did it, started in August, so yeah, I don't know, maybe more than a year and a half. I can't do math. Static chat's on the screen. Thank you, Diana Lisa. Let's get that out of here. That's ridiculous. Get out of here. Pink frame with chats. Okay. Thank you so much, 13 Bellhop. All right, let's draw these little brain lines in here, trying to get as much taper as I can with this fat brush size. One of the things I talk about when people ask about like having your digital work not look digital, I often talk about the, choosing a brush size that you are going to stick with for whatever illustration you're doing. And because this is meant to emulate that kind of classic tattoo style, but also like I'm doing it with like layering color and making it sort of a printmaking thing, I wanted to have a pretty big brush size. And because I know that's the size I want, I chose 50 as that size, and I'm not letting myself make it smaller. And that way, if I'm zoomed in really far, I don't even have the option to get too detailed because it'll just be nothing. If I zoom in, I can only draw as small as this brush will let me. I think my favorite part about drawing sometimes is just this stage where I'm just sort of refining my sketch work, because like it's just sort of mindless and I can just really focus on like each line and making them kind of as perfect as I want them to be. All right, we're almost ready to start coloring. I figured this Riso process would be great for a live stream just because people always have lots of questions about it, even after I've done a few different videos. So I figured doing it live, I can try to answer as many questions as I can while I'm here. Whoops. All right. Do I have an option to ban daily glitch? Let's see. Put user, you're gonna time out for 30 minutes. You're blowing up my feed. Do you think like if you just, I don't know, like I said, oh, I can't give you an iPhone. And then you're like, oh, if I just ask 100 more times, then he's going to give me an iPad so I can start a YouTube channel. And then, you know what? Maybe I will do that just so that I can come into your stream and be like, hey, can I have a phone? Can I have a phone? Can I have a phone? That's craziness. That's dang craziness. Okay. Vortex Visions, you said it's impressive how rarely you use Control Z. Well, yeah. It's usually when I accidentally turn the brush into an eraser when I am not wearing a glove, which is happening right now. Or like that one, I want that line to taper a little bit more, so I'm gonna do it again, but I guess there's only so much I can do with this brush size. And again, I could change it, but that's not what I'm doing here. I am trying to make this somewhat analog. So you'll notice I haven't really changed much, but I decided that I was gonna make this more of a, I don't know, sleeve situation. So that is one thing that I did change on the fly. Otherwise, I'm just sort of following my sketch pretty very extremely closely. All right. I find that if I do these like the things with a sharper point in 2 strokes as opposed to up and then back down, it doesn't taper as much. So like on this one right here, I didn't do it that way and I feel like it doesn't taper enough. So I'm gonna go ahead and fix that. So I'm using the modifier to use my brush as an eraser so that I can maintain that texture. So I go up, and then the second one, I'll pull that back down. And it's got a little bit better of a taper, I guess, but that line is too thick there. All of my undos have happened after I got the comment about hardly ever using it. And I got cocky and lost it. Okay, so I saved the teeth for the end because I want to turn the smoothing down for those to do it faster, because I want sharp angles. So let me know in the comments if you are making the live stream for the first time because you can't do my typical 10:30 a.m. time slot. I'm curious if this is a newer audience because of the time change. I think this one needs one more toothus up there. All right, so let's fill this in. Let's bring that margin up. Okay, so we can get rid of the sketch, and now we can start the coloring process. I'm just not crazy about this center line. I'm just gonna maybe change that real quick. I feel like it looks like a plant or something, I don't know. Just want it to be a little bit more. Oh, I need my smoothing on. See what happens when you do everything else in smoothing and then you don't use it? I wonder if Glish is going to come back after her timeout. I don't know why I'm saying her. I just feel like Glish is a... maybe? I don't know. Who knows? I don't know if that's better, but I'm committed to doing it, so I'm just going to erase this old one. Then I'll grab the magic wand, erase, pull that one in. Okay, so we got our line work. So what I'm going to do is just use the paint fill to figure out where my colors are going to go. Vortex Vision, you were asking about the symmetry tool again. So to be honest, I wouldn't use the symmetry tool. Maybe for the sketching phase, I might use it, but I like that it's not, I don't want it to be perfect. I feel like it takes away some of the, the humanness of it. It's not AI. Okay, cool. Andrew, you said Fresco doesn't have CMYK mode, so if you wanted to print, what do you need to do? So the thing about CMYK and printing is like CMYK only really matters if you're like having something printed on like a traditional printing press that's using 4-color printing. And 99% of people aren't having things printed that way. So everything else, is emulating screen, which is RGB. But if you needed to do CMYK, once in a while I have to do it for client work. I just do it in Photoshop. But like the only time you're printing CMYK is literally like an old school giant industrial printing press where you're printing like thousands of things. So hopefully that helps. Okay, so what I do now is I set this as a reference layer, and then I start coloring it with each color on its own layer. And this is just to sort of quickly place where the colors are going to be. So I'm going to turn back on my references and kind of see what's happening here and decide how I want to do this. So this character is kind of purpley. The eyes are yellow and it's sort of like a green mouth. I don't know. We can make some decisions. The helmet maybe is darker gray color. So what I'm going to do is just start with this blue color. So on this new layer, I'm going to grab my paint bucket and I'm going to fill in like the brain area. Actually, so the helmet is going to be the darkest color, so I'm going to use all the colors there. So I'm going to fill that in, that, and then this part. Just sort of getting in all of these areas of the skin. I guess this eyelid. And then I guess maybe we'll try the green thing for the mouth. So I'll do that there. And then these things are, I guess, the same too. So pretty much everything is going to have part of the blue in it. Okay, so I'm going to make a new layer and start doing the second color. Just making sure there wasn't anything missing in the chat. Okay, so on the next layer, I'm going to do the next color. So I'm going to use the magenta pink color, and I'm going to set this layer to multiply. So again, this isn't going to look exactly how it's not going to look like it's going to look when we use the Riso brushes, because we'll have a lot more control. This is just to sort of kind of plan this out. Thank you so much, Hassan, for the super chat. I wish I knew how to add it to the stream, but that'll come in the future. It's all a learning process. Okay, so because this character is going to be this purpley color, I'm going to fill in all of the areas where it's like its skin. So like obviously this doesn't look like purple because it's just like a pure 100% of each mix, and we're going to offset things. And just pay attention, or wait, not pay attention. Just wait and see. You'll see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to leave the mouth because I want that to be green. I don't want it to be purple. And these things are going to be purple. I might make those like pointy things on the tentacle face things not purple. So I'm not going to fill those in. The mask or helmet thing is going to be the darkest color. So we're going to use all the colors on that one. So we can go and fill that in. So again, this one is pretty much everything as well. Okay, so now let's grab our yellow. So this is a new layer, and we're setting this layer to multiply as well. And the eyes are yellow. Fill those in. And then these lips are going to be green. And then, I don't know, maybe we'll do these things green too. So this is just the yellow and the blue overlaid on top of each other, like that. And then we'll fill in the mask stuff because that is going to be all the colors. And maybe because we have some black areas, I will use this fourth color as well, which is the 50% pink. Then we'll set this layer to multiply. It's also helpful for some shading stuff. So let's go and fill that in. There we go. That's a little bit darker, which is cool. Maybe we'll use it on this to like separate that or something. Okay, cool. So now let's turn off our reference stuff. We can turn off those color things. And now we can check these things out individually and start to color this in. So we're going to go through one at a time here. Actually, let's look at the reference again. So I think I want the brain area to be more pink than purple, and then I'll do the lower, like the main like skin part of this face, darker purple, I think. So to do that, what I'm going to do is use a less dark blue for the brain part, or less. I'm going to show you what the Riso brush is. So I made that selection there, and I'm going to make a new layer, and this is going to be my set of Riso layers. So to make it less confusing, I'm going to actually make 4 layers for the colors and just put them in a folder so that when we're messing with those, that's all we see. Oh, I also have to turn off my reference layer because otherwise if I try to fill this in, you're not going to pay attention. Okay, so we're going to do our blue here. And I mentioned I don't want the brain part to be as purple as the rest, so I'm going to use less blue on this layer. So let's come over to our Riso brushes. Again, there's a link below to these. So if you go into the Riso brushes, you'll see that there are 3 different colors: color 1, color 2, color 3. And all that means is that it's a slightly different texture. That way, if you are layering 2 colors, you're not getting the exact same texture, because if there was just one of each and you layered them, they would have the same exact texture and it wouldn't overlay in a natural way. So when there's 2 different textures, you'll see some of the pink, some of the blue, but then the mix as well. So that's all the 1, 2, 3 means. And then you've got percentages. The percentages are how much ink coverage is in that color. So for example, 100% would be just like a mild texture with pretty blue area. So because I want the brain to be more pink than purple, I'm going to do a lower amount. So I'm going to do 50%, and I'll just start with color 1. And then I just have the brushes set to like a huge amount because I'm just filling them in a selection. One thing to keep in mind about the Riso brushes is if you lift while coloring and go back down, it's going to make it darker because they're set to overlay. So that's why I like the brush as big as possible and to fill in a selection. That way I don't have to worry about that. So I just color the whole thing in and don't lift until I'm done. Because if I did go back in, let's see, make another mark, you see it's getting darker because it's 2 layers of that color because they're set to multiply. Okay, so I can deselect that, and now I'm going to come back to my blue layer, and I'm going to turn this back on and get this lower area. And maybe we'll just do all of this stuff. We could have just, went and made the selections without doing the fill color part, but sometimes I find it helpful to do that to just get a quick visual for where all the color is going to be. Oh, and then the mouth. Okay, so we can turn that off. And now let's go back to our Riso color layer. And now we can use a darker version. So I'm going to grab do the 80%, and I'll choose brush of the color 1 again, because that's what we're doing here. And then I'll just come in and fill this in. So now, as you can see, let me turn off this sketch thing. So now, as you can see, we've got like the darker blue and the lighter blue. And then I guess we need to do I'm going to bring my line work in here. Now we need to do the helmet as the darker amount. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to select these areas in here because I want these to be a little bit darker too. And I'm going to go back to my blue layer, and I'm going to grab the 90% ones, which is just a tiny bit darker. And I'll go like that. Okay, cool. So that is most of our blue layer except for the line work. And we can move on to the next layer. So I'm going to select just the brain area. to try to figure it out. Sometimes you have to sort of experiment to figure out the color that you want. RetroSupplyCo does have a pretty good color mixer file where you can find the colors that blend, but because I'm using like custom colors, it's a little bit different. I think you can change the colors in there, which is pretty cool. I just haven't used it that much because I'm lazy. So on the new layer, I'm going to switch over to my magenta, and because I want this to be more pink than blue, I'm going to go with like a dark version. I'm going to go with the 90, and then I'll select the color 2 because that's our different color. It's the pink. And I'm just going to fill this in and deselect. And you want to make sure your layers are all set to multiply. So now we're getting this cool sort of textured look. And as you can see what I'm saying, because the textures are different, you're seeing some pink, some blue, and then the mix of them together. Also realize I just missed a spot, which is no big deal. If you miss a spot, you can just select it on your line work layer and then come back down to your pink layer and just fill that in. Okay. Also, I'm gonna do the helmet in that as well because I want that to be darker. And then maybe these things, just sort of improvising with that. Cool. So as you can see, because we have a darker blue under that, in those areas, we've got a cooler purple look. But you can still see there's still some of that overprint, like the textures changing around. Saint Delusion said, do you always try to have the primary colors RGB as part of your palette? Well, in terms of the color profile, it's RGB, but because that's what Fresco uses, but I'm not using RGB for my colors. I'm maybe being brain dead and not knowing what you're asking. Okay, so now I'm gonna select, see, this is why I like to do the color fill earlier, but I'm just being lazy right now, not doing that. So I can see exactly what is being filled. Well, a helpful way to do it would just be to like turn off the blue and then you can sort of see a little bit, but still it's easier to see when you are using the color fill from before. Okay, so if we miss something, we can always come back. So now I want this to be a little bit darker than the brain, but not completely. So let's see. Maybe we'll do like a 70%, and I'll use color 2 again because this is our second color. We'll see what this looks like. I think that's too blue. So what I think we're going to need to do here, because it's kind of tricky sometimes to get the right purple, I'm actually going to come back to the blue layer and erase that, then erase this magenta, and I'm going to do, I'm going to try like an 80% magenta, and now come back to the blue layer and then do like a, let's try 50%, and I'm going back to color 1 because I'm going to the first color. So let's try this. That's better, but it's too close to the top part, I think. Let's try 70. Yeah, I think that looks better. It's a subtle difference, but I feel like it's a little bit more purple. Okay, so let's move on to the yellow. So we can, I'm just going to do the yellow all the same. So if I tap on this layer and go to load as selection, and then we can come back in, tap on our new layer, which will be our yellow layer, and I'll grab yellow. And then I'll go to color 3, and let's just do we'll do 90% color 3. Oh, we also want to set the layer to multiply. Then we can color that in. And that's looking pretty cool. We missed a spot here for the magenta. So we know that that's going to be color 2 because it's our second color. So I'll go to color 2, and I think we did 80 maybe, but maybe I can make that darker. Who knows? We'll see. It's a little bit darker, but I'm going to go in and add a little bit of like shading with the colors after the fact. So that's still coming. And let's see. All right, so let's see if we want to use this other color if it's necessary. So I'm going to load the lighter pink as a selection. So the Riso brushes are only set to 3 colors, but my pink color is the same. It's really just a dark, it's the same as the second color. So I'm just going to use that. And I'll bring this to, because it's such a light color, I'm going to do 100% on this one. And we forgot to select the color. There we go. Okay, so go like that, and then we just set it to multiply. There, we got a little bit darker there. And we're still going to make some changes to this, but this is how we get the base amount done. And we still have to do the line work. All right, so what I want to do now is I like to go in and like add some highlight areas like to match that traditional tattoo style that you may have seen in some of my other characters that I've drawn. Let me move my camera so I'm centered. Okay, so I'm gonna go on a new layer and below the line work, because we still have to do the line work layer to get because we're not using black, we're just using these colors. So I'll show you how we do that in a minute. But before we do that, I'm gonna do this highlight thing. So I'm just gonna grab white. I'm gonna go back to my classic anchor, and then I'm just gonna do this sort of like separation thing that you see in a lot of this style, tattoo style stuff, and it just kind of has a cool effect, just sort of, willy-nilly doing it to just add a little bit of, a little something, a little, tattoo-y style. So we're doing this on its own layer, and then we're going to cut it out of all the other color layers because the colors are all made of sort of that combination. So I'm not like paying attention. I'm not like thinking about an actual light source or anything. This is more just sort of like a graphic. And, and who knows, this shape, maybe it is like more angular. So this, maybe, I don't know. I'm rambling right now. I'm just justifying the fact that I'm just doing this willy-nilly. Okay. And then I like to use them to sort of accentuate these lines on the brow, if you will. Also, maybe it's making it look shiny because it's a weird insect monster. So there's also shading brushes in the Riso set, which I'm going to use in a bit. And then maybe just a couple little bits here, like that. And then maybe this right here. Okay, so what we do now is we select the line work layer, load as selection, and then we're just going to erase that from the shadows because we drew it past the line work, and because we're layering colors, we don't want there to be extra colors layering. So we erase that. Now we can deselect, and now we can select the load as selection, the white layer. And now what we're going to do is just go through each color and erase it. Like that. And there we go. And now we're just going to do a little bit of shading. So we can delete that white layer. So what I'm going to do is make a new layer on top of the blue, because I'm going to do some shading in blue first. The reason I'm doing it on a new layer is because if it starts to overlap, because it's not going to be set to multiply, it won't do that layering thing, and then I can merge those layers together to keep it that way. Okay, so on this layer, new layer, make sure I do new layer, because if I drew directly on the blue layer, it would double up the color, and that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get the consistent layer. So new layer, and then we merge them afterwards. So I'm going to grab my blue, and I'm going to come back in to my Riso brushes, and I'm just going to choose like 60, because I'm just doing a little bit of shading. And I'm going to come in here and just kind of like add in a little bit of like just like a little bit of shading underneath where the helmet lines are. Make the brush size a little bit smaller. Maybe a little bit on these like brain wrinkles. Is that what you call them? So it's just adding like a little bit of extra texture, a little bit of depth and separation, a little bit of visual interest. Looking pretty neat. Don't want to go too overboard, but you know, a little bit goes a long way. Okay, so I think that's good for that. I don't know if maybe a little bit on this. That doesn't really change. Oh, because we used a dark amount there. Okay, so I'm gonna just do it on the brain, and then I'm gonna use the pink to do it on the lower areas. So before I merge this down, I'm going to load the selection for the line work again and just erase that extra stuff that's behind the line work, because again, I don't want to double layer colors. And we're going to pull the line work into the color after we finish all these details. So I'm going to merge that down. I'm going to go to the pink layer and make a new layer there. And I'm going to grab the pink and then grab I'm going to use the 70% shader. Who knows? And then down here, I'm going to do just what we did before. I'm actually going to move it below temporarily underneath the blue so that I can see the multiply effect, because it's not part of the purple layer yet. I mean the pink layer. Wow, what am I talking about? I think this is having a cool effect. I think adding in this pink as the shading really helps accentuate the purpleness. Then we can use it like on this eyelid. I think that will have a nice effect. And then down here on the chin. then I can just erase the highlight out of it afterwards. Could even have some here in the green, which I think could be kind of cool. All right, I think that's enough. So I'm gonna load the white as a selection real quick because there was a couple spots where I went over. And then I'm gonna erase that from the pink layer. And then I'm gonna load the line work as a selection, erase that. And now I can merge this with the other magenta. So merge down, and there we go. Now we've got that subtle shadow there. Are we talking about brinkles? Is a term for the brain wrinkles? I like that. I am gonna move the layers for an effect in a little bit. Okay. Thanks, Artful Dabbler. Dabbler? Sorry, I was reading two different names at once. Okay, so now let's just actually want to do a little bit more shading with the pink, but I didn't want it to be as dark. I want to do some shading on the eyes to give them some shape. So what I'm going to do is grab a less aggressive shader. I think we'll go down to 50%. And then what I want to do here is just sort of give a little bit of, yeah, I think that's cool. Makes it look a little more evil, a little more badass. This guy is a villain after all. Cool, I think that is enough. So let's just load that selection once more. Erase, whoops. Erase, deselect, and now we can merge that down. And then I just want to do one more on the yellow layer to just a little bit on these teeth. So I'm going to grab the yellow and go down to 40% shader. And then I'll just quickly come in here to give a little bit of just a subtle little shadow there. Okay, cool. All right, so let's load our line work one last time. Erase that, deselect, merge these down. So now we've got our main color layers. Now we need to add the line work to each one. So what we're gonna do is load our line work as a selection, turn that off, and then we're gonna come down to our blue layer. I'm gonna do this one at a time so you can see it happen. Okay, so this is our blue line work layer, and now what we need is to fill in the line work. And because we want the line work to be as dark as possible, I'm gonna go with the 100% and I'll choose color 1 because this is our first color. And then I'll just fill this all in. And now I'll turn that off, go to the pink layer. We can do the same thing. We could choose 100, but we'll choose color 2 because it's the magenta. And come in, fill that in. And now we can turn that off. Chris Zappa, thank you so much. I appreciate that with the super chat. And now on the yellow layer, we'll choose yellow and we'll choose color 3. I think I chose 100. Okay, color 3. And we'll fill this in. And then on this lighter pink layer, because I want to darken the line work up, I'm going to go back to, because it's the same pink as the other pink, it's just 50% of it. I'm going to go with color 2 again. Okay, so now when we turn these all on, the magic will start to happen. And now you'll notice there's no line work. Let's pull these out of here so we can just really bask in the fact that there's nothing else on here. Okay, so if we turn this off, or turn this off, you'll see that this is the only thing that we have. It's just this group. So we turn that group on, we go in here, you'll see it's just these colors making up the line work. So what I like to do now is to just sort of mess it up a little bit to make it a little bit more imperfect. So I usually do that one at a time. I'll go down to the blue layer, and in the Riso brush pack, you get these print defect brushes. And these are all just sort of like, you know, effects for mishaps that could happen. Andra, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it so much. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to grab the blue, and I'm going to grab one of these. We got some fingerprints. We'll do a fingerprint. Come over here. Maybe I'll put a fingerprint right there. Maybe over here. And then another thing that I like to do is I like to use them as an eraser. So I will double tap the modifier, and then I come over here and I can kind of break up the ink coverage a little bit, which will give us a cool effect. Let's try a test print defect. Let's see what this looks like. I never remember exactly what they look like. So that's just like a little ink spot, it looks like. That's cool. Okay, so I think what I'll do is just splat one, maybe erase with it a little bit. It's subtle, but you know. Let's see, a ghost print. What is that? Oh, okay, that's cool. I think I'll use that as an eraser maybe. And so we got these kind of cool effects happening. I think that's good. I don't want to go too crazy. And now I'll do some on the pink layer. Ghost print 2. Well, it's got kind of a cool texture. I think it's a bit much there. Yeah, I think this is too. Oh, you know what? We should use it as an eraser. Yeah, see, that's cool. Okay, let's do a print roller smudge. Let's see what that looks like. That's too small. Oh, we're on the eraser. That's another subtle one, but can make it a little bit bigger. Maybe do a little bit of an eraser, and then we'll just do drum edge. What's that look like? Oh, that's crazy. Let's see. That's a bit too much, but what I'm thinking is, what if we use it as an eraser and then just kind of tap over to the edge a little bit? That has kind of a cool effect. And I'm not going to bother with it on the lighter colors because it's not going to be that noticeable. But if we turn these all back on, you'll see we've got these cool effects happening where that ink coverage, you know, is not perfect. And then I just like to shift the lighter colors a little bit. So I'll grab the yellow and then just sort of kick it over a little bit like that. And then the lighter pink, we'll do the same, but maybe a different place. Like that. I think that's pretty cool. And then I will add a paper texture to the whole thing. I do have some RetroSupplyCo does have some really great Photoshop paper textures where they're like smart PSDs where you add in your artwork and you can really control the density. You can get similar results, not as good, but pretty close by just putting a paper texture over it. So I'm going to show you that here. So I'm just going to go to Photos, and I'm going to go to this, I have a texture folder, and then I'm just going to grab this paper texture, and I'll just kind of scale it up a little bit. I'm going to turn off my artboard preview so that it's cropped, and then I can move it a little bit. And I'm going to set this layer to multiply. And now I can kind of figure out the best possible spot for it. I think this paper is a little too yellow for what I want here, because it's darkening my image quite a bit. So what I can do is make an adjustment layer for the hue and saturation, and then I can make it a clipping mask to just that paper layer, and then I can bring down that saturation so I'm keeping the paper texture, but I'm getting rid of that yellow, which is affecting the color quite a bit. So I think that is good. And that is how you do it. So I know it's a little confusing. I can stick around and answer some questions for a few. But hopefully that cleared things up a little bit. Aquaman, you said when animating, do you have to fill color frame by frame, or is there a faster way? So yeah, you sort of do, because it's a different drawing for each frame, so it wouldn't be able to just imagine it unless that's for frame by frame animation. If you were just using like the motion paths, then that's a different story. So there's that. Hassan, I'm sorry you keep getting ads. I thought I had that turned off or set to conservative. I apologize for that. Okay. Hassan, I'm glad that this I showed you how to use the print effect brushes better. Hopefully that helped. Cool. So Hassan, you mentioned that you're going to watch this live a couple of times. I typically make the live streams unlisted after, but you can still access all of them by just using, there's a playlist on my channel for live streams. The reason I make them unlisted is because otherwise they mess with the channel data and it's hard for me to figure things out. So if you're looking for a live stream and you don't see it, just go to the live streams playlist. They're all in there. Let's see. Johnny Megalos, you said, can you ask Kyle and Adobe to switch out where the eraser is for, or the paint bucket is? I don't know if they listen to me for that, but it would be cool if you could customize your tools. I mean, they let you customize them in all the other apps. There's other things that I would ask for first. That's not a big deal for me. But they, I don't have control over this. I'm not, they're not going to listen to me. Sane Delusion, glad you thought this was a good tutorial. Stella, you're watching it in a Zoom meeting. That's funny. Alfonso, you said clipping mask for the adjustment layer. Cool tip. Yeah, so that's super helpful. I think it's a nice feature of Fresco too, because you can also do it on like a whole document. If you do an adjustment layer in Procreate, it's just on that layer. So with this thing, you have the ability to do everything, or just like you could do a folder or like a group of images. There's a lot of flexibility in that regard, which I like. Courtney, you said, when you print the art, do you print at home? Do you get a nice effect even if you don't send it to a print shop for an official Riso print? Yeah, so I mean, I print things all different kinds of ways. As an illustrator, a lot of my work is printed by the client or for publication. But if I'm just making prints myself, I do print on I have an Epson high quality inkjet printer, and it looks just like it looks here. So it has that Riso effect without actually being a Riso print. Obviously, a real Riso print would look a little better, but these print out surprisingly well. I think they look really great. If you have a good inkjet printer, it's going to look exactly like your illustration. Saint Lucian, you said you love Fresco. Saint Lucian, you sneaked watching this while working. Awesome. Epson, woohoo. Yeah, Epson is definitely my favorite kind of printer and printer paper. I have the Epson 15,000 and it is the best inkjet printer I've ever had, and it's not that expensive for being a semi-large format. It does 13 by 19, which is pretty good. So you can print, 11 by 17s, full bleed if you want to. It's great. And it has the Epson archival inks, so it's great for doing, high quality prints. How thick? So Riso ink isn't really thick. So Riso printer is like it's like a photocopier that prints colors one at a time. So that's what gives it the cool effect. But it's like it's like a hybrid of like a photocopier and a screen printer, and the fact that you're like layering color because you print one color at a time. But it's like a photocopy. Yeah, definitely not ink block press stuff. So it's like if you just like look up Riso printer online, it looks like a copy machine, but you put in different ink colors, and then they get printed. I have I was gonna grab something that's Riso printed, but I don't know where it is right now. Okay, cool. I hope everyone enjoyed this. I will see you all next Friday. Probably back at the traditional time, but I will think about this new stream time, see how things did, possibly push it. Thank you to all of my channel members. I wish I could put your graphic up right now, but I'm still learning this new software, so I apologize for that. New video on Tuesday. I will see you next week. Thank you all so much.